When I first started, my calls were actually like 15 to 45 minutes on average because I thought you needed to build a relationship really deep. My best calls actually aren't that long.
So what are you saying when you call them for 1 minute and then bounce them off to the next call?
It's usually, hey, I'm James. I'm a realtor at XYZ in the third. Was calling in regards to the neighborhood. Just wanted to see if you had thought about selling in the next couple months. And I just flat out, no, okay, great. Do you mind if I actually stay in touch? And if they say, yeah, cool. If they say no, I'm probably still gonna reach out to you. I'm just being real.
This is the Be More Show for agents, where you'll find real talk, and ambition. We're here to build real businesses and be more than your average agent. We want to know what killers are actually doing within their businesses, the reality of it, all tactical, no fluff. So we're here to find out. Please share and enjoy. Today we have James Patrick. You are live with us. Thank you for joining us today. Shirtless James, as always.
Always shirtless. What's up, James?
What up? Just living life.
Although you have enough tats to make it look like a shirt. Like you could, it kind of looks like a shirt too, you know? So.
And you wore a hat. You know,
Very
no top, but a hat. So we're, you know.
I hope you're wearing pants. We don't need to know. Okay, let me.
We'll never know.
So, James, I met you a couple of years ago when I went on 5 Pillars team trip, and it was to Belize. What year was that? 2019? 2019. I was even a realtor then. 2020, odd numbers.
Yeah.
And there were so we were broke. I'd say like what the total was, like maybe 15, maybe max, like 20 people to the team trip. So we were all broken up into different rooms, right? And it's my first time meeting everyone in person. It was on that team trip. I was like, you know what? Let me go out there. It's Belize. It's the water. You know, I'm excited. And I get housed up with this kid named James, along with a couple of others. And we're having a good time. We come back after drinking. It's late at night, and we're about to enter our house. It's late at night. Like we're all tired after a long night of drinking. And what do you know? We are locked out of our house. And who is on the inside? James. And we can see you clearly. You had just arrived. I guess you were like showed up late, right? We see you. We're all outside of your window, knocking on these windows, like trying to break the window down, trying to break a door down. And James is just peacefully sleeping naked on the bed.
Oh my God.
Like, dude, wake up. We're trying to go to sleep, dude. So that was my first impression of you. It was so funny. Thanks for joining us.
And we're here.
Dude, love that first impression on James. And you know, that's actually like a, I wouldn't say standard, but you never know what you're gonna get with James. Like even now, I'm like bracing myself for like, what's gonna come out of his mouth, but I'm excited. And on the stat side of the house, so James is, when he's out of the business now, but when he was in the business, crushing it as an agent, he was in the Fayetteville market, Fayetteville, North Carolina. He primarily worked with sellers, started his agent journey in 2018. And by year 2, he did 64 closings that second year, made over $300,000. And as a solo agent. So James, before we get into, you know, all the madness that went into close 64 your second year, you have to tell us what your show moment is.
Back when I was doing listing consultations and I would go to people's houses, I do remember a time when I used to, and they weren't always there. This was one of those times they weren't there. And so I just thought it'd be cool to just pee in their toilet, because that's what, if you got to go, you got to go. And I'm a guy, so you can kind of get away with that sometimes. But I was actually planning to wash my hands. To the point, I used the toilet, tried to flush the toilet, didn't flush. It took me forever to figure out how to get the water down, but eventually it got down in one of these clients' house that I will not say a name. And that's the abbreviated version.
Did they know it was you?
I feel like people always know it's me.
You said it was, did you eat like a lot of asparagus before and it just smelled like terrible?
No. It was more of my mind tends to exaggerate things, but
right.
Yeah.
But I was hoping for like very dramatic, like I wanted to like experience all of it through.
No. Sorry. No.
Okay, gotcha. So shit show story aside, both of them. you as an agent, can you tell us a little bit before your agent life that led up to getting your license, and then take us through the start of year 2?
Yeah, before I got my license, I was, just a normal guy working at Goodyear, and hated that, and had just come out of a rough period of my life. But I mean, like, everybody's got their stuff. And then I decided to get into real estate because I absolutely hated working at Goodyear making tires. I don't know if you guys have ever done anything like that, but that is ass. And so did that, and yeah, just had this really strong feeling that real estate had to work for me. And so made it work as far
How,
as cold calling.
what was your introduction to real estate agent? Like how did you go from Goodyear to being a realtor?
So at the time when I was living in my car, I happened to have a conversation because I was trying to figure my way out of being homeless. I ended up talking to a guy in a grocery store, and we just had a good conversation. And he told me how he was going to build this $1 billion real estate empire and all this other stuff in North Carolina. That was interesting to me. Naturally led to a lot of questions. And then because it's just two dudes talking in a grocery store, I just kind of was like, sounds good, bro, and just went about my business. And so we exchanged information, and we actually didn't talk for a year and a half, which is the oddest thing. But when I called him back up and I was like, yo, bro, like, I don't know if you remember me. I'm like this guy in the grocery store. Don't know if I have a memorable voice or whatever that was, but it's like he actually remembered me. And so that was great. And
You're very memorable.
I was just like, dude, like, I absolutely do not like where I'm at. And I remember you saying something about real estate. And so Goodyear, I worked, I think it was like 6 to 6. No, I think it was 7 to 7. The point, I was working all night, but I had to figure out how to do real estate school and all of that stuff. While for a clip of this, it was just very difficult, but figured that out. And then he actually told me I need to sell in Raleigh, which hindsight, wish I would have, because I'd have made a ton more money. But the point, I think what allowed me to stick in Fayetteville was he told me this. He's like, nobody makes it as an agent in Fayetteville because it sucks. And I was like, so
challenge
for me,
accepted.
Right. And so I'm like, oh, you tell me this is impossible. Now I have to try it. Like,
right. Yeah.
And so that's really all that was. Yeah.
Nice.
Dude, there's so much in there.
Yep.
About your life, like a lot of depth in your life, a lot of struggles that you just, working nights and the living situation and trying to, you having to make it work. You had to make a change in your life. That's crazy too, that you just randomly, like, I don't have $1 billion real estate conversations in the grocery store. Also very, yeah. So yeah.
Well, I would ask, are you actually talking to as many people as you feel that you should?
Oh, 100% no. I avoid them. But
well, when you start conversations, for example, yesterday, I happened to run into a guy on a plane who, check this, and the new venture I'm in, he works with a tech company that helps influencers use AI tools that are actually going to help scale their company, right? Like, what are the odds of that? Like, and then I get into an Uber, and that guy happens to be a guy who does long distance property management. And I also was conveniently enough getting irritated at the fact that my short-term rentals, I'm like, I need somebody for this. Like, and so it's like, I think that if you actually are talking to people, it's amazing how a percentage of them are just going to turn into, right.
That's something that I really admire about you. Even though you locked me out of the house, that's totally fine. You take such advantage of the people around you. Like, literally, I remember having a conversation about how that sounds so bad. That sounds so bad.
I was like,
no,
sorry.
Because I remember we had a conversation about how you always fly first class now and like, you don't even like, I think maybe I just imagined this in my head, but that you don't wear headphones and you're there to talk. Like, you're there surrounded by people on your left and right, people that are like, hopefully doing well, and you take advantage of that. And so I really enjoy that. Like, apparently that travels also into you just going to the grocery store, which is awesome. I feel like I don't always have the patience for that, and I wish I did. So I admire that about you. We love your DMs on Instagram, and as long as you don't sound like a bot or aren't sharing your overnight crypto success, hit us up on Instagram. Let's be friends. We're at The Shelby Show and at Allie the Agent.
Conversation that changed my life. One, that conversation in the grocery store, a drastic trajectory change. Met one of my girlfriends that we are not together now, but again, learned actually a ton from her. And, it's like, I really do feel that it's one of those truths is everyone knows relationships have power and all this other, or we're one relationship away from where we're trying to get, but no one does it. And so it's like, for me, when you have nothing, at least you have the ability to initiate relationships. And so it's like everybody can see it as valuable or not as valuable as you want, but I found it's been beneficial for me.
Dude, I love that, especially since like before we even hit record on this, we were talking a little bit and about what you were going to deep dive into today, and you were talking about just like work and how people say they work but nobody does it. So it's kind of like the same thing where it's like we know the power of relationships, we know the power of work, but actually like just doing it. And you're a doer, James. What can I say?
Yeah. So
all jokes aside, I think that it's super simple. I'm telling you, Shelby, I think that the game is, if nothing else, you have helped me to realize that the game is super simple. And I will tell you this, at least now, where I'm at now, it seems as if wherever you're trying to go, a lot of it is just like, it is definitely usually simple that you're trying to avoid. That's the reason why you're not there more times than not. It seems that way, or at least for me, especially as I re-look back on this real estate journey. It's the wildest thing.
And
yeah,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Shelby.
I was going to say, like, speaking of real estate, let's bring it back to
right.
You got your license. Your first year, I think you did decently well, but then your second year, you really crushed it. Can you take us through that 1-2 year look? What does that look like?
Yeah. So started in February, and again, let me know if I'm getting too much. Started in February. First thing I decided to do was to go to the Keller Williams training conference because I was like, I don't know how to do this. And so did that and came back with feeling like I wasted a lot of time because I didn't need multiple days for somebody to just tell me, hey, the secret is lead gen. Okay. He who controls the leads controls the business. Got it. All right. And so I came back with a bunch of different things that I could try. And then also that same month, I did sign up for a coaching program that cost $1,000 a month that I didn't really have. And so, but I was going to do it. And so I got it anyway. And so those were two instrumental moments. Was still hating Goodyear, but was working there. I spent 3 months basically waking up at 7 a.m. and I would start making calls until actually, I was already up because I would get off of work. So 7. And then if it was a day off, then I'd wake up at 7 to do it, make calls. And then I would do that until, if it was a day after work, then I'd go to sleep for about 4 or 5 hours. If not, then I would just continue all the way through until the afternoon. And then I would door knock in the afternoons. And that was genuinely how I built my initial book and got my first 2 closings. And that was the first time I'd ever made $5,000 in, which, by the way, that'll tell you something about the market. $5,000 in 2 closings, right? Like I was like, and I was on top of the world too. So closed those 2 and then quit my job because I was like, oh, this works. And that was super stupid. Did not think that through, but did that and it worked out. I just kept doing basically the same thing. And actually for a little bit started to try too many levers and then basically realized, okay, I'm doing too much, cut that off. And actually only realized that because of the coach. That's the only thing my first coach really helped me with was I started to try too much. And she was like, James, focus. And I was like, oh, you're right. That's like really smart. When I put all my energy on one thing, it's way better. And so
which coaching program was that?
Yeah, it was MAPS initially. And then later on, I went to Middleton Elite Coaching. But that was only because the guy who got me into real estate was a coach at Middleton Elite at that point.
Got it.
And so, yeah. And he was already helping me more than my MAPS coach. So I was like, naturally, I should pay the guy.
Yeah. So what was your initial like introduction to cold calling and door knocking? How and why did you start with those?
I I started with cold calling because it seemed efficient, and I thought that I could buy all these like lists and just sit down and call through these lists, and then you realize that that's and so it was like, man, that was a waste of money. Don't do that again.
Really? Why? Talk
Yeah.
further. Yeah, why?
Oh, well, so I don't know about you guys, man, but I'll tell you, I tried, when I first started, I was looking for the easy way. And so I tried like three different dialers, and that was efficient, but not effective. And then I tried buying lists. And what I found was I was paying for what I could get for free. And so I was like, dude, like, but I've got this time. So why don't I actually, and I also, it was, I don't even remember who the this is. There was somebody, I had this, you want to talk about random conversations? I was in, for KW agents, I was in the bullpen where I was like, basically, they put all the new agents and all the scrubs in the same room, and everybody like talks about how they're going to be big in the business and nobody does anything. And I had this one conversation with one agent, and I don't even remember who the fuck it was, but I know it was a female. And she's like, oh, if you're looking to find somebody, just use, I think it was like fastpeoplesearch.com. And I'm like,
Oh yeah.
where the fuck was this?
Yeah.
And so that was the missing piece that I needed, so that now I could literally just take the time and scan every house, that's what I did. Was I basically built my own list and would call everybody because it was just as effective and so I got to save money that way. And so, which much needed in the beginning, because we actually got down to where I actually had to borrow $400 from this girl. And that was super embarrassing. This one, a KW agent, had to borrow $400 because my girlfriend at the time, she was about to get her lights cut off and she had kids. And I'm like, oh, we can't have kids in the dark. Like, and so, but I didn't have any money yet, but it worked out. But anyway.
So that is the importance. That's the importance of having a group, being in part of a community of other realtors that you can bounce questions off of. So you're not solo. So you're not like up a transaction and never, having a seller or a buyer say, hey, never work with James, never work with that person. So I know like a lot of people sometimes join and they feel isolated and they don't know how to not up, but there is a way you can ask questions when you're a part of a community.
Okay, so you didn't pull lists. You literally like went in whatever neighborhood. Did you target specific neighborhoods?
Started in Cottonade.
Okay,
great
gotcha.
decision.
Okay, perfect. So targeted a specific neighborhood and literally went house by house and pulled the data on who owned the house and then created a spreadsheet of your own and then called them. Is that?
Yes.
Damn.
So I didn't actually compile every number. I only compiled the ones with the people who actually answered. From this, doing this in Cottonade, which is so interesting. By the time I had called all the way through, from that, I got so much business. Like, it was the weirdest thing. It didn't look that way initially. It took probably like 3 to 6 months of following up.
Yeah.
But then from that, I think the following year, I had sold 13% of the homes in that neighborhood. Gotten a wholesale deal, got a guy who gave me a seller financing deal, which is, again, that property is doing fine. Like, it's doing I'm like, I thought 2K, and I still think 2K a month off of one property is like, I thought it was cool, like top line, right? And then
dude.
I thought it was cool, right? And then it's like, and then also too, he still wants to partner with me on a mobile home park, but I'm actually turning that down just because, again, divided focus, not a good thing. Nice. And so I'm sure someone else is going to be happy about being able to benefit from that, but it's not my.
Nice.
Did you target more neighborhoods than just Cottonade, or was it like literally just Cottonade? And sorry, Allie, you're next.
No, you're good. I started with just Cottonade. And then what I realized was I started Cottonade, and then I went where my comfort zone was, which was a similar-ish price point. And so I went Cottonade, Water's Edge, and I was staying basically all up and down Riley, which is a bunch of houses for anyone who knows that area. It's a bunch of not houses, but it's like first-time buyers typically, right? And so you're not getting the best neighborhood in that clip is Cottonade. And so it's like,
that's true.
It's like you could feel how you want to feel about it, but it's the truth. And so That's what I did. I just went in those. And then I had, again, I'll say this. So I can't say the only thing she helped me with was that initial focus. She taught me this. If you're going to use 20 or 2,000 units of effort, right, rather than talking to 2,000 people, talk to 500 of them 4 times. Oh,
That's
that
really
makes
good.
sense.
Same as mailers.
Right. And so I just combined those two and I just kept doing it.
Nice.
And that's how I was able to go from, I didn't know anybody in that area because I'm not from Fayetteville. I'm a Navy guy who just got, so I could talk military, but I knew nothing about the Army. Only was down there because I was trying to connect with a friend and they put me into thinking that it was a good idea to be there. And so that's why I started there.
So I would love to talk about how many, if you remember, because this is a couple of years ago now, you mentioned 3 to 6 months of follow-up in order, because follow-up is what's needed after you cold call and door knock. Like it's not just a one-time thing they want to sell with you ever. Well, okay, I don't want to say ever.
Sometimes.
But do you remember how many doors? Well, you got the in. How many doors you knocked on, or how many calls did you make before your first client? Like, what was your mindset there? Did you ever get disappointed?
I got lucky. On the first client. So I tend to, by the way, I don't know what this is about my life, at least. I usually get some type of quick win that lets me know that there's an opportunity here. And I don't know what that is. It's oftentimes like, oh, okay. Like, so for me, after, I think it was like day 3 of being at Keller Williams, and I had already started, and I don't know why the I did this, super wasteful resources, cold calling Cotton Aid. And then I was door knocking all the way in Parkton in Steeplechase. And so stupid as. And so the point is if you want to know how many doors I door knocked, it's every house in that neighborhood. And I just kept knocking on every house in that neighborhood. And so I actually did. And then I was like, oh, let me actually door knock this neighborhood that I just called, because that might actually be better.
Yeah.
And then I door knocked about 1/4 of Cotton Aid. If you're looking for door knock numbers. First client actually got at the Harris Teeter right next to Keller Williams, because I went in and the deli lady said something she was about her agent, and I was sitting here, I was like, 3 days into this, I'm like, I'm a realtor. Like, that sounds terrible. Like, I would never do that. I have no clue what the to do, but I'd never do that. And so that was my first listing, actually.
That's amazing. For sure.
Actually, and she sold, like, I think in that 3-year clip, we had 4 transactions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So she came back even after that first try with you.
Oh yeah, which is mind blowing. I look back and I told her, like, I looked at that CMA and I think I was like 15,000 off.
Oh.
Like, no, like I told her, I was like, oh, you're gonna get this. And I remember how hard of a conversation that was, because she's like, my house is worth more, and I'm like, no, it's not, because I feel vindicated. Look at this CMA. I took time to do, and I have no clue how to do adjustments, but I was very confident in my. So where she at least gave me a shot, and I'm like, that's why you're sat so long. It's because the other agent didn't have the balls to actually tell you your house sucks. Yeah. The house actually did perform a lot better, and so we laughed about it after, but that was my lesson learned, that I could be wrong. And then, which I've had multiple of those in my life. And then we proceeded to, her husband gets back and goes crazy and buys a house in Parkton. Then we have to sell the house in Parkton because she never liked the house. And then they moved to Cotton Aid, and I have to help them buy there.
Wow.
And they also reached out to me again now, but I'm no longer in real estate, so I referred them off.
Dang. All back to the conversations in a grocery store too. That's awesome. You mentioned before.
Talk to people.
Yeah. You mentioned before, you get lucky is what you said, but really you already have the mindset, the ambition, and the action behind it. So, I feel like it's once you've opened your mind to another opportunity, new business venture, whatever it is, that's when you start seeing everything that what you can do, So it's like when you're looking for to purchase a new car, and that's when you see that car everywhere. That's kind of like what I'm thinking of it, because you already have your mindset focused on that. Can we go into what you said, like scripts when you're cold calling or door knocking? Let's do door knocking. What would you say that had the best conversion rate for you?
I don't remember exactly what I said, but I do know a lot of people would overthink scripts. Because actually, when Keller Williams gives you they give you a bunch of scripts. Their framework was actually pretty strong, and I actually appreciate them for that. However, this is just rather intuitive for me. Nobody believes or trusts the person that they feel that it's like you're talking to a robot. And so for me, when I would read the scripts, I'm like, okay, cool. Like, what are we saying here? Like, what's the objective?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, cool. Now I can have a conversation with somebody and get them to the same point. And so for me, honestly, if I'm choosing between um, less rigidity and more dependent, honestly, on somewhere between intuition or skill and a framework, I tend to err to this side, which is someone would probably say is not as good. But it's like I'll start saying like something like this, and then I'll practice that probably 2 or 3 times. And I'm like, all right, let's go. And then I just start testing it, and then I'll adapt it over time. Just because it's like for me, I get better through actually trying it. And for me, it's like I'm like, okay, cool. And I know this is super. Most people is like, it was embarrassing for me, but I'm like, well, we're not going to say that again. I will say that as I'm walking away from the house. Like I'm like, that didn't work. Like, and
So
I'm only going to say this because this is valuable,
yeah.
though.
Oh my God.
I also did change my objective of door knocking. My objective wasn't to get the listing. Once I realized it was more about getting their information and nurturing them. So then I genuinely just came to provide value as far as I started to amass information on the neighborhood, different property values, that type of thing, give them the information and just let them know that I wanted to stay in touch with them, keep them up to date. And then I just started to collect people's information as opposed to trying to get the listing up front.
Dude, that's so good. So quick question. I know we're going to deep dive here in a second, but I have to know because a lot of people are scared to do everything that you just mentioned. Talk to someone in a grocery store, be like, I can sell your house. Here's the CMA, and like door knock and call people who, when you don't know what you're doing. So like, was there any like hurdle that or is that just naturally who you are?
No, I am who I am. I feel like most people who have any type of achievement, it's usually you adapt over time, like everybody, right? Like you see yourself as one way, then you have this problem, and then you end up like, well, I got to get this done anyway. And so it's like you become who you need to become for the moment. And so until you no longer are doing it for the moment, and that actually is who you are, right? For me, remember, real estate has to work. And I'm sorry that most people will never be in a position to where you have to have something work because you'll never become who you need to become to get there. But it's like, for me, real estate had to work. And so I was fortunate enough to where it's like, I'm sorry, I'm going to at least try. And so I started to have the conversation with the lady at the deli. And then I knew, okay, I just knew the next step, which was setting up a listing appointment. Okay, then I go over her house and I listen to her and I'm like, okay, cool. The next step is to get her to sign this document. She signed the listing agreement. I had it completed all wrong. She thought she was under, she thought she had her agreement in place. I thought she had her agreement in place. It was wrong. Same thing with my first buyer's agency agreement. You just need to know the next step and then get them to the next step. And then you can actually, after you grind through the process, right? Yeah, you can actually build the whole frame.
Gotcha. So you're much more like act and then learn from that action, figure out the very next step, and go back and adjust and reflect and modify your systems as you go.
I just need to know where's the objective that I need. Tell me what, okay, cool. This is the big thing. And then it's like, okay, cool. This is the next step though. Great. And that's, by the way, I think that people, when they're training people, by the way, that's a whole mistake too, is you try to give people too much. And it's like, most people, if you can lead them to the next step, it's much more, I don't care how long the process is, it's much more tolerable. That's what I found.
I like that. That's nice.
Okay, so at this point, we kind of have an idea of what happened year one. Like you just like went out and sent it. You didn't know what you were doing, but you found people's contact information and you door knocked and then you followed up with them over the next 3 to 6 to 12, all that. So now it makes sense to me when, you have this absolutely, stellar year two. It's because the entire year one was you setting the foundation for you to have the ability to actually go and crush year two. So, when we were talking before, you were talking about how consistency was this thing that made it all freaking happen. So what did the consistency look like in your life? And just take us through the consistency piece.
Consistency is the battle. I think that most people don't realize that it's like, first off, if you're willing to get started, because I think like some people like, oh, I don't. All right, cool. You got the balls to get started. Like if you can just keep doing the thing consistently, more times than not, you're actually you're gonna get where you're trying to go as long as you have any type of feedback system. But the point, at least for me, consistency. I chose consistency around cold calls at some point. I did let door knocking fall off, but it began to become a game of good day, bad day. So I could be inconsistent in every other area of my life as far as mood, as far as everything. If I'm going to like conquer the world or be a after this, but I have to make 250 calls a day. Like that's my thing. Like, and cause it's like, dude, like what else are we going to do? You gonna let yourself starve? Like, are we going to go back to living in your car? Like, what are we going to do? Like, I need to at least like know that you're going to try. Like it was me to me, like do the 250 calls, dude. Like that way, at least you know that you're doing your part, right? Like if the rest of the shit falls apart, like, cause you can't control crazy ass clients. Like some of them, things are going to be great. Deals going to fall apart, but I can control and get a sense of peace from like, first off, I can replace your ass because I've got all these other people coming. Like, it's like, it gives you a sense of stability.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
In this world that is so chaotic, especially real estate, man, it's so high energy.
I want to know more about the goofy, but I would say that I think that that's so powerful. The part about, I just have to at least do 250 calls a day because like you said, people hang on to the crazies and they get so upset if something doesn't close or doesn't go the way they want. And it's probably only because there's scarcity in their life. If they were consistently bringing in new business, those, onesies and twosies that batshit crazy because they're going to, it wouldn't matter as much. So I thought that was really cool. Allie, did you have a question?
And not everyone has their backs against the wall. Like, had to make it work. Everyone else is just uncomfortable and they're okay with being uncomfortable. So I love that you had that. What about the 250 calls was important? Like why 250?
I found that I never had any issues when I did. You pick a number.
Cool.
I'm being honest. Like I probably probably could have done a different one. 250 was what, because a percentage of those people answer. And it was like,
yeah,
it's not even like, so you're like, oh my God, you talked to 250 people. No, small ass percentage of those are going to even answer. And then it's like, yeah, no, it was just like something that I felt comfortable with. Yeah. Also, I will say this though, scarcity is only a gift in the beginning. At some point you'll get away from it. Right. And so it's like, then it's the game of like, I actually think it's like almost harder because everybody rises to whatever level of comfort. And so it's like, especially like I was joking about, like, I thought I was making a lot of money. It's like, oh my God, I'm making like 300,000, like ball out. Like, but it's like, I found then you're less likely to be consistent now because you're no longer afraid.
So once you weren't afraid, how did you stick to the consistency?
I still have other things that drive me from time to time. Like for me, it's just like, some of them don't. The fear of starvation is in your face every day. The pain of, if I don't do this, man, like I didn't realize like my options are either one, people in my family look up to me. Okay. So there's that. Oh man, like, am I going to be like them? Cause like everybody in my family's average is like, I could always like choose not to do this, but then that path sucks. And then like, oh man, the option is I can always get another job. Like, oh, no, that sucks too. But it's like, you don't think about those until something usually triggers the thought. And so for me, it's just not as frequent that those would pop up. But, and I mean, like, some people try to use their family to motivate them. That's a whole nother conversation, but it's another consistent that's in your face every day. So in theory, that should work. In theory.
Yeah. What tools or what systems helped you maintain consistency and with those calls?
Trackers. So trackers in a sense of spreadsheets, just basically Google Sheets that I would use to stay organized because again, I wish more people would use numbers to build a sense of peace. It's super helpful when you just
Yeah.
realize that everything can be reduced down to like, okay, cool. If I do this, I give myself the best probability chance of success. Like, if I don't do that, like, numbers give the ultimate peace to me in an entrepreneur's world. And I just think that most people aren't willing to build the systems that will actually, or build the tools that will help them do that.
And were you using any dialers for calling?
Initially, but that fell off very early in the game.
Okay. You found
So
that it
you
wasn't
just
really
hand
important
jammed
for
it.
you.
Perfect. Dude, so
That
you have a
was
Google Sheet and you have a phone.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about with overhead.
Yep. Yep.
Oh my God.
So the Google Sheet was the tracker. I actually had a piece of paper I would do the tally marks on, though, because it was just faster that way.
That's like
Oh my
Ruben
gosh,
Garcia
yeah.
style too.
This is like
Nice.
Ruben Garcia style for sure.
Yeah.
But you did have a little bit of leverage. You did have a TC, correct? Like a transaction.
Yes, that was my
coordinator?
first hire. That was my first hire for sure. First hire came in 1 year after I started. So it was February. I got started February of 18. So by February 19, I got a third party TC back when Danielle Williams was doing her thing, building her TC business. And then didn't get my full-time TC in-house until a couple months later when Danielle was like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. And I'm like, don't leave me. And she's like, I'm leaving. And so then I got Kimberly, who is a good agent on her own now, which super proud of her. So
Nice. Let's
she was at
dive,
Lens Crafters at that time.
let's dive deeper into this Google Sheet. So this Google Sheet is going to be on theagentgoldmine.com. You can get it there for free. What exactly were you tracking in that Google Sheet? What important metrics were there that you were looking at?
Yo, real quick, this podcast is not free. Cost of admission is sharing with a buddy who'd benefit or throwing it on your Instagram story. Tag us. We'll reshare that.
Oh, I wish I could say it was like super fancy. It was the name when I had reached out to them and any notes and where they were in the process. It wasn't, I didn't get a CRM that actually kept up with all this until much later.
Okay.
But
Yeah. Okay. So I doubled
it
as your
was
CRM.
basically-
Got it. Dang.
Yeah, it was basically a CRM. Like,
Okay.
Got it. That was it.
It's like Mark's whiteboard.
Whiteboard, yeah.
Just like chalk.
Exactly.
It was super basic.
Well, dude, that's
I
what
love
super
that.
basic.
I love that.
when people are like stressing about like which CRM do I get and I need to have all this like technology, I'm like, less is more, and whatever system you choose to do will work if you work. So
Yes.
it's totally about, I'm with you. I love it. I still use my Excel sheet half the time. Yeah.
Serious.
Yeah.
It
Good
works.
Yeah.
It
Okay,
works.
what other systems besides, we got the phone, we got the Google Sheet, and we have, of course, the leverage, that you implemented. What other tools or systems did you use in your business? Specific to consistency, ideally,
Besides the notepad and the pen.
which you use for the tally
for
marks.
a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. For a little bit, I did have a timer because I was trying to figure out how long I was on calls. And I was like, because I started to realize, I was like, oh man, like my best calls actually aren't that long. Like, because when I first started, my calls were actually like stupid, like 15 to 45 minutes on average of me just talking to these motherfuckers about like, because I thought you needed to build a relationship really deep, really quick, only to find out you can do it that way, but it's much better if you just build relationships how they normally are, which is over time. And so you have a quick interaction with somebody for 30 seconds to about like 2.5 minutes. Sometimes on 5 if you actually got shit to talk about, and then you get off the phone and you just continue that process. And over time, they just start trusting you because you like consistently are providing concise, clear communication. And that was
So what are you saying when you call them for 1 minute and then bounce and then off to the next call?
It depends. It depends on the situation. But I will say usually if it's a repeat person, assuming that it's not the first. So if it's an initial conversation, it's usually, hey, I'm James. I'm a realtor at XYZ in the third. Was calling in regards to the neighborhood about X, right? Or just wanted to let you know that I sold X, or this just happened, some type of update. And then just wanted to see if you had thought about selling in the next couple months. And I just flat out, no, okay, great. They just wanted to know, like, do you mind if I actually stay in touch? And if they say, yeah, cool. If they say no, sounds great. Probably still going to reach out to you. I'm just being real.
Yeah.
I'm probably, because I'm going to forget that you said no to me. And it's like, unless it's like somebody who's like, you called me like 3 months ago, then it's like, honestly, I'm going to forget and I'm going to call you in 3 months and then you're going to forget the conversation. And so it's going to be a new conversation for us both.
Yeah.
And so that's usually what happened, honestly. I didn't have but like 2 people that actually got mad at me.
But you did have a reason for reaching out, which is cool. Like you had some sort of, I sold this, I'm going to sell this in your neighborhood. I just listed this, I just sold, or this change happened, right? So it was like a reason.
Eventually, but before it was my reason to reach out, there's always a reason to reach out, right? Like, so it's like, before it was my listing or I just sold this, it was, yo, this house just sold for this. Neighborhood values are XYZ in the third. Have you thought about selling? I just need any reason to talk to somebody.
Super smart.
And then it's like, once the door is open, you can run that as far as you want. Like, honestly, you can touch points. There's like, I think I had like 8 touches in the middle of a transaction that I would update them about. And like, that they gave me permission to update them about. And so it was stupid. Yeah.
How did you keep track of which updates? Was this all in the Google sheet, or it's like, hey, I gave them update 1, update 2, like through 8, or what did that look like?
Once they told me that I could actually stay in touch with them, if they were in the neighborhood, then they would go on the tracker, right? And so as deal X progressed, then I now had a reason to go back through and call
the whole
them.
sheet. You just went down. Okay.
Let's talk about those that cursed you out. You said you had like 2 calls that were difficult.
Yeah, there's always.
Let's go into that, and then how you overcame that.
Yeah. There's nothing to overcome. It's just accepted.
Some people get scared. There's a lot
don't want to talk to you.
So you just put them on.
And also too, yeah, if they don't want to talk to you, man, like some girls are gonna reject you, and it's okay. Like you better keep living. Like honestly, like what are you gonna do? Cry? Like oh no, let me get out of real estate. They said me. Like no, it's not the dude, man.
But I think to some people, it can be. It can be that deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so genuinely play it out. What's the alternative?
Broke.
Someone says no to you. You keep going, and you figure out how to. Again, you can either let that up your entire day, because again, it depends on how far you want to stretch it out. Up your entire day. Now you've basically eliminated any and all potential possibilities for that day. In which case, oftentimes after I usually have an extremely thing happen, I also usually can hit it out of the park in the same day. It's turn my mood around, right? Like something good usually comes in the same day if you keep going, right? Or check out for the day if you want to, right? Or let's play it out even longer. Somebody said F you and slammed the door in your face and said, get off my lawn. You can get out of real estate. Like it is an incredible opportunity. And I think that you would be foolish to do that. And so it's like getting better is always a better solution. And so it's like, it's not that I don't understand. Like I got feelings. I'm naturally introverted. Like I would much rather, like most of the time, for real, it's a reason I don't leave my house right now. Like I like it here. It's comfy. like it's, but it's like, if I need to do something else to get closer to the goal, hopefully it goes the way I planned. If it doesn't, then I'm not going to not try again. I think that's stupid.
So then you would continue to reach out to them, provide them value, updates about their neighborhood, potentially their specific house. And then once you kind of got the feel for them either wanting to move or they know of someone, that's when you set the appointment, right?
Yeah, it's a game of, I always used to crack this. It's in bad taste. So I found my new venture doesn't care about it, but it's like, I used to be like, look, man, like every female has had one guy that they've slept with and they're just kind of like, why did I sleep with that guy? And it's like, I want to be that guy, right? And to where it's like, I just want to position myself in your life to where it's like, I'm going to still be around. I'm going to be that friend who's around. And you're like, so when you have a moment of weakness, you sleep with me. And then it's like, I don't even care if it's bad. Like, hopefully you come back, right? But it's like, if it's bad, I still got my cell, right? And so it's like, I just want to position myself to where it's like, dude, like, I'm just calling you periodically so that when you have this moment of weakness, seller, you're going to think of me. You're going to be like, oh, this nice guy just keeps calling me. Like, and it's like, you don't even know why you're thinking of me. but I'm just positioning myself so that when you have that moment of weakness, I will be there. Like, and then hopefully, hey, look, hopefully you want to bring a friend next time. But if it doesn't work out, like,
oh my God.
And
it's okay.
hopefully you provide a good enough
Oh my
transaction
God.
to where they do want to go back. Ideally,
Right.
I mean, that's the goal.
hit it
Do
and then
friends.
Okay, so
leave.
look, so that's always the goal, right? Is you want it to be good enough to where they come back or refer a friend, right? But here's the thing: is in the beginning, you're not. You're gonna provide bad, and that's gonna be okay. Like it's like, but you got to get some practice in there. Like, so anyway, it's a terrible joke, but it's like if you think of it that way, then it's just like, hey, look, I'm not even trying to get the kill right now. Like all you other guys, you guys are going up and trying to like spit game and get the listing right now. I'm just going to be here. Like, I'm just going to position myself as the friendly guy, give them some value. Then it's like, over time, I'm going to build the relationship. And then when they do think about selling or their friends about to sell.
Yeah. I mean, it is a very interesting analogy. I do have a question, though, about the continuous follow-up. So, like, a lot of times people will like get a list or like get a number and they follow up, you know, a handful of times, even if it is a pretty decent number of times, and then they stop. Like, did you ever stop or like 250 calls a day as you were building? I know obviously you stopped when you shifted out of real estate, but like, do you know what I mean? Like, was there ever a point in time where you would like mark someone dead or just always follow up till they die?
There are reasons why you wouldn't, but it's like the majority of people, even if they're like, I'm not selling, you know this, right? And I'm like, I know, Jill. I'm still going to be here, though. It's okay.
Okay, so you never stopped.
No,
I think that's great.
I count on you guys. I count on most people stopping, by the way. Like statistics will show that you guys will stop and I will persist. You guys are talking about cold calling. It's a game changer if you ever do the shit with expireds or Trons or like Fizbo. Like expired and for sale by owner specifically, so much, it's a faster paced game, but it's the same thing. And so it's like, it's so stupid. I count on you guys not following them. That's how I got all my initial business.
Yeah. Same thing with mailers too, where people will send blast a ton of mailers, maybe once, maybe twice, but they don't send it on the 7th, 8th, 9th time. And that is when the conversion is.
Totally. Okay, cool. This is me shifting out of real estate. So you have mentioned throughout this whole time we've been talking a bunch of like really good like nuggets, like about, you know, acceptance and, you know, just me versus me. And there's just like a lot of like, it smells like self-development in the house, which is one of my favorite topics. So what have you attributed like your significant growth from, you know, working nights at Goodyear to, you know, where you were throughout real estate to where you are now? Like what has helped on your self-development journey?
Real quick, if you're listening to this on Apple does not make it easy to leave us a rating. So I'm going to break this down for you. In the search tab, type in the Be More Show for Agents. Click on the thumbnail. Then click that middle tab that says reviews and click write a review. Tap on those 5 stars, of course. Let us know how awesome this show is and how it's helped you. And if that's too much for you, I understand and just switch to Spotify already. Thank you so much and back to the show.
I've had different teachers at different moments, right? Like, no, but all jokes aside, man, if we're talking about when I first started, specifically the real estate clip of time, or are we talking about even to now?
I'm talking about in your life, the transformation of James.
I believe, let me try that. I'm going to try. I feel that I'm a combination of when you put somebody under a lot of pressure. For example, Shelby, from what I know about your backstory, similar to this, that it's like your parents weren't necessarily like the millennial, let me say this, the Gen Z parents or whatever nowadays that are out there where it's like things seem more loosey-goosey, and that's okay for them. But it's like when you put somebody under pressure with high standards, and they're fortunate enough to where their mind actually can assimilate that pressure and turn it into, I guess, the process of sublimation. So I'm like, I got lucky enough that my brain could actually handle the pressure, not crack. And then, because again, it's like a lot in that. And then the fact that for whatever reason, when I am under pressure, my brain always goes to, all right, I just lost, or this is not going the way that I want it to. One day I'm gonna change this. And I know this is gonna be, I know that sounds very stupid, but it's like
It doesn't.
from being young, that has been how I've processed things. Is I'm like, I will change this. And so I don't know. And I think that everything that has happened kind of from being young is kind of just like really taught me skills more so than anything. The actual core person actually hasn't really shifted much in that respect, that it's like challenge happens. I don't like the result I got. I will one day change this. And it's always that same cycle of I am grateful that I have whatever that is.
Hmm.
I don't think that was helpful though.
No, it
No,
was.
it is. Yeah. Is it
Okay.
almost like you are talking to your future self
I'll
when
say
you're
this.
telling yourself, I will change this?
It's a combination of me to me and me to everyone else. Because when I was younger, it was me telling my mom, I'm like, don't worry, one day things will be different. Impossible situations. Like we're talking about like just like this is not statistically very improbable situations. But again, that whole people go to whatever mental level that they want to be, right? I do think that that's a very interesting thing. Now at this point, it's like, yeah, man, now it's like more me versus me, because it's like, I feel if I stop now, it's like, so now my discontent comes, which I've grown to like it. My discontentment comes with now I have people that actually believe in me and all these types of things that I'm like, oh, this would have been nice in the beginning. But it's like, um, I get aggravated because I'm like, man, like if I don't, the promise is not fulfilled yet of where I want to be. And so it's like, now it's like, you could stop now and life is fine. But it's like,
Totally.
dude, there's so much more. There's so much more that you can do. And like, that is so exciting to me, but it pisses me off at the same time because I'm like, I'm sure there's some people out there that just enjoy being normal. And it's like, man, like, it's like this weird thing. Like it's a gift, but at the same time, like, I don't know what that is, but so it's like, because you want to get somewhere or be someone different, you continually like
It's
evolve,
evolve.
rewrite.
No, it's
Yes,
true. It's like
you
evolve
have
or
to.
die. And it's constantly
Yes.
that circle of where you are trying to push past wherever you are currently. Then you get there, and then there's the discontent and almost like a deterioration stage. And then which
Yeah.
catapults you into the next. It's seriously, it's like this constant cycle of up, down, up, down.
Yes.
You know what I'm trying to say? It would make
No,
more sense if,
yes.
yeah,
It
you
is.
could see it.
No, it is. And it's just like that. It is like just like that. That loop.
I
And it's
feel
almost
you
like,
so hard.
it's almost aggravating.
It
But
makes
it's
those
like,
like cliche. Yeah.
it's a beautiful part of
So-
life though. I've grown to like appreciate it, that it's like, okay, cool. I have to know. I like the way Hermosi puts it. He just tries to minimize the amount of time that he's basically like before he resets and starts to go back up again. Like he says it in like super more intelligent words, but he basically tries to compress the amount of time that he's here before he shoots back up, because it's a natural cycle of life, it seems, for achievers.
It's interesting. I haven't found a way to force myself past. So I experienced this last year. Last year, most of you guys know that I had a what the fuck am I doing with my life? Like I was gonna quit real estate entirely. Like I changed my Instagram handle from Real Estate with Shelby to the Shelby Show, because I was like, real estate no more. Who am I? This entire, identity crisis. Yeah. Well, it was weird though, because I wanted like logically to push past it. Like logically, I was like, I do not want this like slow deterioration period. And it's weird because I could not condense it and expedite it. So that's have you found a way to, like, I had to write it out before I was ready.
I'm be real. I don't know if everybody is the same, but for me, I had to, because I was also in a similar spot where it's like, but mine was prompted by something different. Basically, after the relationship with the mother of my daughter falling apart and all this other stuff, I was extremely like, and I had already hated, I'd already realized, oh man, I hate this thing that's making me money, right? So I went on this like 7-month hiatus. The point, I didn't click out of it until I had a conversation with this guy who
in the grocery
he
store.
runs. No. This was actually if we were being 100% transparent, this was somebody that I met on Tinder, and they were like running this like multi-million-dollar like pharma company that's probably going to help a lot of Black people not die. And so, but he said something with an inflection that made me feel as if he was challenging me monetarily. And I don't like the feeling when man, to my core, I feel when people don't believe in me or like anything like that, or slightly challenging me. And so for me, and here's the thing, I talked to him about this after. I'm gonna finish this, but it's like, because of that, it got me to a point where I was like, this like average, like I'm just coasting, like what the fuck, like what am I doing here? And so very quickly my brain, and it only took that little like boop to start like the rest of the snowball. And I went back to him after, and I was like, man, like, I don't even know if you realize this, but like, and so, which the growth of this venture has been really fun, and it's really fun. The point is, I went back to him around month two, somewhere between 2 and 3, and I was like, you and this other guy were my enemy for a little bit, and I'm so grateful, because I don't even know if you remember this conversation, but I think you accidentally triggered me into, I'm ready to go.
The next phase. Yeah.
Yes. I just needed something to like
up to.
Yeah, like,
yeah, dude.
You don't know, and it, like, you don't know me.
Right.
Like, you genuinely don't know me.
Yeah.
Like, no, for sure.
Dude.
Like, dude, like, you don't know what I'm capable of. I know what I'm capable of.
Right.
You've only seen what I've done over these past couple of months because I've been relaxing.
Yeah.
Watch this. And then just like proceeded to, which by the way, that also changed the dynamic in the relationship that I'm in too. Because up to that point, he had only seen me in chill mode too. And so that was also exciting to see that too. So that was cool. Anyway.
Yeah. So
it was cool.
What pumps you up now?
I want to build they say not, I want to. I'm in the process of constructing something that it's like, I believe that actually, like, I can get this to like at least 3 million a year within the next, we're in May, 9-10 months. Like, I can have this being like a 3 million a year company, right? And then I can consider, like, do I want to like go to like Hermosi, or do I want to just continue to use his free and like scale it, right? But I'm like,
dude, do it and then tell me all about it.
Well, so it's like, for me, I'm like, man, like, this is like really fun and also very interesting that I feel that I could have done this before, but this is the first time that it's like, I thought that I could do this before, but I just wasn't ready to do it. Like, I wasn't really trust people, like put out the SOPs and the tools and be consistent, like leading people, like, wow, this is so much fun. I can make all this money on 2 hours a day. Like, why would I do that? Like, it's stupid. And so, but yeah, man, I'm excited to see where this goes. And then from there, we'll scale it to either that's the next pivot is, once I get it to 3 million a year, deciding, do you double down, take it to 10 million? Or do you, I can start off and branch to phase 2, because this is a 3-phase company. There's going to be 3. The personal training part is actually the first part of this, but it's like, it's the coolest thing is the bigger you build the base, the easier everything else is. And also too, it's been an exciting ride so far.
I love what you said there about like you not being ready, because I feel like I now hear the like should is now a trigger word to me, which it never used to be. But whenever I hear someone saying like, oh, I should post on social media, or I should do this, I'm like, you're not ready. Yeah. Because the minute that you say like, I should do it, like, you are not bought in. You're literally only saying it because someone else, like, you're looking around and other people are doing it, but it's not until you commit it within your soul that you are actually ready to execute. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think the problem isn't that they're not ready. Oh, sorry.
It's a word that has shame. Like, the word should, it like intrinsically brings on shame. It's like a very extrinsic word. It's something, what something else wants of me. So yes, I should. Go ahead, James.
Feel that.
Well, no, I never thought about that, but it's like, I think it's not that, and I almost lost my thought because I started to ponder on that, but it's like, I think it's not that like them not being ready isn't that's not being ready isn't a problem. Like, it's that you're over here trying to lie to yourself saying that you're ready and you're not. Like, just, if you're not, I'm not willing to do the work, or I don't want to do the work right now. Like, I think that keeps you as the person in power, as opposed to when you're over here like just lying about it. Like, and honestly, then you're wasting your time and everybody else's. And it's just like, dude, like, it's okay to not, hey, look, I'm not ready to do anything, insert anything. Like,
right.
But you're being real with yourself.
And that's, so I want to clarify. So when I say you're not ready, I mean, people are never ready. Like, go back to the very beginning of this conversation. Were you ready to go list that woman's house or go on? Like, you're not. What I didn't mean like, I didn't mean like actually ready. I meant like you accepting the work and the responsibility and the effort that goes into doing the action. Does that kind of make sense? Like the differentiate?
Let me ask you, Shelby, on that, because here's the thing is like, if you actually knew how much work was actually involved until you became air quote successful, would you still do it? I don't think that a lot of people would. I don't, and before you even answer that, it's like, I don't think a lot of people would. I think a lot of people, let me say this, the people who are, I think it takes a certain type of person to believe in yourself enough to where you're willing to get started. Not even because you always underestimate how long it's going to, or how much work is like the actual units of time.
3 times as long, always. Literally
every fucking time.
3 times as much work and time always.
Every time. And it's like, that's wisdom speaking, right? But it's like, and here's the thing, it's going to be a ton of work and you still get started. Like, it takes a certain type of person to be able to do that. And so it's like, to know that you're going to have to start and then basically have to rewrite and revise everything so many multiples over. It's like, I don't think that anybody really knows, like, if you actually knew how much work, you probably wouldn't do it. But it's like, you have the balls to get started. That's the real question. It's like,
and I'm so glad for the experiences that were more work, because they help shape my decisions today. Like today, now I can say what I want to do and what I don't want to do only because of the storm that, of survival of the past. You know what I mean? But anyway, we're getting like really like off of real estate.
I enjoy conversations.
Shit. I do.
Look, I was gonna say I enjoy conversations with Shelby, man. And so I do have to go use the restroom at some point. So
it's okay. We're gonna wrap it up. We're gonna wrap it up. Right?
Yeah. Cool. Let's move into the wrap up questions then. James,
sweet.
As you're doing the little pee-pee dance, what's your favorite app or tool?
Right now, Instagram.
Nice. Yeah. For business or for life or personal?
Solely for business. No, it's solely for business.
Okay.
Yeah, no, actually, personally,
you
I
use
don't.
Tinder for personal. Got it.
No, actually, I don't. For personal, nope. Nope. Even like, I've always been like, it's so weird. Like, I have a desire, like, I want to like hook up with somebody, right? And then I get on the apps, but then I'm like too good for it. Like, I'm like, I have an account, but like I don't use it, right? And I'm like, it's stupid as right. And so I usually end up defaulting to like running into people or having conversations. If I do meet up with somebody on an app, then it's like, I actually, for whatever reason, want to have a conversation rather than just the typical hookup, how that usually plays out, especially in the queer community. But it's like, like that's just me. And at this point, which is TMI for sure, but it's like, no, like now when we have like multiple people, it's like, or different people that are coming, it's like, again, we've met these people like somewhere and it's like, we just like friends. And so, Instagram for business, easy way to get like leads. Leads.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Instagram. It is so like, just try it
perfect.
if you're not doing it.
That's your favorite app and tool. Love it. Okay. How can we help you in your business? Or can we?
If you like funny stuff, like, which is just funny to me, and higher probability you're gonna like it if you're like in the queer community, follow my page. That's at TDT results. That's that
was our next question.
Honestly, like that's
perfect.
Yeah.
Cool.
The page will take it from there.
Yeah, he'll hit you up. So you can follow him.
No, I won't.
Oh.
You'll hit me up though. You'll probably want to at time.
You'll get sucked in. Got it. Nice. I'll have to hit up your page and see how you do things.
It's pretty entertaining.
Give James a follow if you want some entertainment. You could also hit us up, Allie the Agent, The Shelby Show, and that's it for today. Thanks for coming on.
It's been a pleasure.
So much, James. Super fun. You know what to do.
Be a bro and share this show.
Thanks for listening, dude. If you want the golden nugget that this guest provided, see the show notes or just go straight to theagentgoldmine.com. That's where we keep the resources for you. Till next time.